Hello everyone. Can please someone confirm me on the chat? Okay, great. You can hear me. That's a good point. Perfect. So we can now start our webinar. Thank you for everyone for participating to this session. The session is about how to achieve career progress and development. List some insights for my part, and we can go. Well, the first thing I wanted, I thought that, well, okay, how to achieve career goals, then probably it will be interesting for you to share, so that I can share with you my story about how which are the main steps of my career, to know who is the speaker, and also to share my experience with you. So I started I have an educational background in Yerevan State University for Masters in Psychology, and this first step was all about the passion. Okay, I was completely passionate about what psychology is, and my business psychology in particularly. I started to work as a call center manager in CCA International, which has nothing to do with psychology. At least, of course, there's always some link, but it was more than kind of an opportunity to get there, just to have nice experience about management. And then I left this job in order to do Erasmus Mundus program. That's how I'm here during this webinar, and I think you know this program. You should know this program quite well. So it is a European program of master degree, and it was the main drive for me. It was to follow the dream to achieve some degree in a different country, and to get to know different cultures. So I did my master degree in Work and Organisational and Personnel Psychology in Paris and Barcelona. It was really a very fantastic experience that I had in two different countries with different people coming from different cultures. And then once I finished my master degree, I started to do HR consulting in Seville Consulting. It was completely a chance. Just kind of a seizing opportunity as well. And then now I'm an HR consultant at Tatevik, which when I read the job description, I told myself, okay, I think this is my dream job. And that's where I am. So I'm doing consulting in talent management, in evaluation, in development of personnel for companies coming from different horizons. And I will share some experience with you with these companies. I think it will be maybe even more interesting for you than my proper story. So what is being talent, right? That is there's our main point, how to achieve career goal, and what will define what is the difference between a talent and just an ordinary person. There is no ordinary person, of course, but like on what you can capitalize in order to go further in your career. Tatevik made, so it's a company, HR consulting company that I'm working for. We made a very pushy scientific study in order to answer to this question, which is, what is being the talent? And we identified four main spheres that you can see. So it's about interacting with others, it's about achieving results, and it's about dealing with complexity and also managing yourself. I will go through the details for what is making a talent, what companies call a talent. How we did before, just I would like to give you some insights about how the scientific work, the research was done. First of all, it was a request from one of our clients. They wanted to identify the talents inside of the company. So we made a lot of research, theoretical research, methodological research, to understand, okay, whatever the job position is of a person, what makes someone different from all the others? And then we tested this information with empirical experiences in different countries and with over 4,000 participations. So if you tell to yourself, then okay, or today I'm in a company, or tomorrow I'm going to start my career, then how should I act in order to be in order to get my goal, strive for the excellence, and really go evaluate in my career? Then first thing, then it will be first thing about, it's about being proactive. It's being about proactive. What does it mean? It's setting challenging goals, aiming to exceed expectation, promote change. It's about being innovative in the way you want to develop yourself, and it's also about living agility, to seek the opportunities and the possibilities to get more work, to do more things, to go out of your zone of the, what we call comfort zone, right? So you can see the little fish that sometimes you have to jump out of the water, and sometimes you will probably lack of oxygen, but that is the way. That is what also the companies are looking for from the talents. The next step is, it's also about being positive and adapt. When you are going and when you are achieving more and more responsibilities, you have also more ambiguity and uncertain information that you have to deal with. So it's all about being, when you have a change, to see more opportunities in this change than what you lose. Because if you know, in change management, well, every change, we are going through some sadness phases. Say, okay, I'm losing something is going to the end, but it's all about having the smile and saying, okay, then what I gain from the situation. This positive switch is important in order to seize the opportunities again. I can come back to this. And also it's all about being adaptable. So being also, well, there is another thing, just try to walk on the rope, because when we're getting more and more in higher responsibility, the uncertain part that is more, because we're in an era where the companies are moving very fast, where the technologies are moving very, very fast, and the environment can change. We can have a very successful period, then in an economic crisis, then everything stops suddenly. So it's all about trying to adapt and be as a winner in this situation. At this stage, if someone has questions, please do not mind to put it in the chat. It's also about being impactful, having an impact. And when we tell about what is impact, there are two main things. Is the impact on the others, so it's about influencing. So requesting feedback also to know, okay, then what do I do well? How should I do it better? It's about adapting your communication also to different levels of persons and people you work with. And it's also, the second part of it, it's about the impact on the business. What does it mean? It's about being challenging, also establishing thinking in a constructive and confident manner. It's about anticipating also maybe some future opportunities for the business. This is probably one of the most difficult part when you start your career, to understand what the business is, what are the impacts on the business. So then probably this is the way, this is one of the things you can do. It's also about reading, about understanding, about being, again, I will link it to the proactivity, being proactively involved in understand what are the tendencies. There are a lot of sources for that. There's Twitter. This is very nice networking system where you can get a lot of information. There are TED Talks, and I will tell you some links about TED Talks that could be interesting, linked to our subject. And it's about probably reading a lot, understanding what is the business environment around you that helps you to improve in your impact on the business. And then networking, I don't think you should be surprised with that, because we are talking about that more and more, and it is about networking inside the organization but also outside of the organization. It's about seeking new contacts, about again being proactive in order to maintain these contacts, get also keep these contacts, initiate them, create them, but also maintain them. Nowadays you have a lot of systems, networks that can help you to do that. Of course, we are pretty much aware about them. It's our social networks like Facebook. It's maybe less professional, but it's also about what is interesting in networking, and is that you can capitalize on your professional contacts, but also on personal ones. Don't forget them. It's part of you. It is part of your network. And for that reason, I think I really appreciate the initiative of the Erasmus Mundus Association to maintain these contacts and to enrich them, because we are rich with these contacts. We do have them, so it's one of the sources for you also to have more and more network, and to not hesitate to get into touch with people, to ask questions, to benchmark in some way about what should I do in my career, how should I go, what is going on in other countries, because it will give you just a sort of intelligence to be also more impactful in your career and in your communication. Of course, so we're talking about the social networks. Facebook, LinkedIn is a very good networking tool. Twitter also is a very good networking tool, and it's becoming more and more. But you have also other kinds of tools like Instagram, etc., that are less maybe professional. What else companies are looking for? It's also about integrity. So what is interesting is that we didn't identify this dimension initially in our theoretical model, but talking more and more with companies, we understood that this was one of the main criteria and very important criteria that companies were looking for. It's about showing respect, being honest, being honest in your communication, being transparent, and also maintaining high professional and ethical standards. It's about challenging unethical actions also of the others. It's true that companies are seeking for this kind of employees, and definitely they would invest, and they would put forward someone who has this integrity. It is also about the commitment. Okay, so you can see, yes, you have some ring. When you're in a company, you have a ring, you have a commitment, you're in engagement with the company, and rare are the companies that are not compensating for your loyalty and fidelity. And of course, you can make the change. It's all about feeling yourself as you are not only a part of the company, but you're responsible for this company. And you are contributing of the success of the company. How the commitment is created? First of all, of course, it's all about also finding someone that is passionate, or some job that is passionate, or you can find some passion. So first thing, it's about the motivation, and to be sure, if you do not feel yourself committed to a company, then probably it is not about, it is not your network, not your, the fit is not that much, but it's also about being positive and less criticizing. why it is important to say, okay, then if I was the manager or if I was the director, what would I do? And sometimes when you put yourself in this position, you understand that there are maybe less and less options that are left, and you understand probably more the decisions that are made by the manager. Of course, it's not always the case, but basically the idea is what I think that probably the dream job is about that, is finding a company that with which you will have a cultural fit, an important cultural fit, when you share your values with the company. It can be, it is very different from one company to another one, but it can be about respect for the others, it can be about being international, it can be, the values of the companies are very, very different. So when you are in the right place, you usually feel that there is a values, but it's also about seeing this. First of all, you can have the fit, and the second one, you have to be conscious and to open wide your eyes to see that this company is a good one for you. So it's all about be positive before criticizing, and probably it will help you to be committed. Okay. Then, well, okay, we talked about different qualities that can help you, that, well, companies are seeking for from their talents, from their potentials. Then you can ask me the question, okay, that's very nice, you can maybe identify yourself with some of them and less with other parts of them. Then the question would be how to achieve these goals. I found two very interesting TED Talks. I don't know if you know about this source of information. TED is a network of a lot of events that are organized with ideas worth spreading, as it is written in the slogan. TED Talks, you have different speakers on really different subjects. You can find anything you could imagine. It's about health, it's about psychology, it's about achieving goals, etc. It's a very interesting source of information. So we're talking about impact on the business or being proactive. I would recommend you to look through, to seek this source, because you can really open wide your mind also with TED Talks. So if I link to what we were talking about, achieving career goals, one of the interesting talks I had, I watched it was with Matt Cutts, was telling, okay, well, if, for example, I want to be proactive, and it's not natural tendency for me, what can I do? Well, his answer is quite simple. Try something for 30 days. So maybe what I would suggest you to say, okay, among the qualities that were presented, then which one is easy for me? Okay, which one is less easy for me? Then identify these less easy points and just try to be during 30 days. You can probably, it's about also setting the goals, right? So you can start with 7 days and then continue to 30 days. I recommend you to look through this video. And then another very interesting video could I identify. It's about the speak that Derek Sivers realized. It is based on psychological research that has been done about how to achieve goals. And in this experiment, they found out that people the group of the people who didn't communicate their goal to the others would have done more effort than the group that would communicate their goals to the others. And in the end of the experiment, the group who did more effort, who didn't communicate his goals, would have the feeling like if they are very far away from the goal. While those who shared their goal with others had done less job, objectively, but they would have the feeling that they are closer to their goal. The psychological mechanism about this is probably how did they explain it, that when you share your goals with the others, you have already the joy, like if the goal was already done, if you are already successful about that. So the probability to put all the effort needed to achieve the goal would be less than if you don't talk about it. So one of the tips I would say would be also keep your goals to yourself. I really invite you to maybe look through this video again, to look through this video in order to have more details about this speak. And then the last part that I would like to share with you will be just some examples on how several companies accompany their talents to get their goals, to achieve their goals, and to develop themselves. So I will give you an example of a big company, international company, 3,000 employees in France and about maybe 10,000 in the world. They are identifying their talents based on usually in the companies that there are people reviews, what do they call people reviews. Well, when the HR and the manager are getting together and trying to say, okay, which employees are the most talented one, which employees have the potential to go further, to be our future leaders, so they can look through the criteria I just talked about with you just before. And once they decided who are the talents, usually it is about 3 or 5% of the population, who are the selected ones. This company organizes what we call a development center during 2 days. So it's a specific 2 days dedicated to these people, where the management, high-level management, is gathering together with the HR and with external consultants, where Tatevik is working with them. During the first day, all the candidates, all the participants, they have some exercises, simulation exercises. They are they're doing role plays. For example, they can play a role of a manager, they can play a role of a marketing project manager, and through the simulation exercises, every time there's a part where they prepare their exercise, they are in a virtual company, so they are playing the role of someone who is working in a different company, and then the managers with the HR and with the consultants, they are observing their behavior. For example, a presentation, or for example, they have a meeting with an employee. If they are playing the role of a manager, they meet their employee, and you can see how they deal with the situation. Usually these people never manage, so it's kind of a first try for them, and so we can observe how do they react in this situation, how do they deal, how do they build their communication, and in the end of the day, you've observed and assessed these people according to the competency model of this company, which is the leadership competency model, because they are trying to prepare their future leaders in the company. And after the first day, the second day in the morning, there are still some simulation exercises, and during the second part of the day, the main part of the day, there is a consolidation of the assessments, because every candidate, every participant is seen by all the observers. There are 3 teams of observers of 3 persons. So 9 people are putting together their vision of this person, of this participant, in order to understand which are their strong strengths and which are their development points. In the end of the day, once everyone is agreed on the on what there's no conclusion, but what are really the strengths and the development points of the participants, there is a feedback session in order to give them very precise feedback and help them to develop, to first of all to understand their strengths and their development needs, and to understand what the company is waiting from them as a future leader. After this step, once that these 2 days of development center are over, which are very, very dense and usually very positive, there is another step internally. The HR with the line manager of the person and with the top management that have participated in these development centers, they sit together and they say, okay, here are your strengths, here are development needs. What should we do? What action should we do in order to develop yourself? So it can be trainings, it can be coaching, it can be on-job training, and they accompany them to be better, to be more excellent. So I'm coming, actually it was a bit quicker than I thought, 26 minutes instead of 30, but I'm happy to answer any questions or to share any other experience if you have any questions. So Georgie, Mariam, Rolf, you are still online. Aferdita as well, I think. Do you have any questions? Do you think there are? It's what is really very frustrating about this webinar is that there is no interaction. Yes, Rolf, please. Well, Rolf is typing a question. What do you call PDR? Okay. That's a very interesting question. Is it normal to ask, what do you call normal? I think that first of all, of course, it will depend on the culture of the company and the culture of the country where you are. It's very, very different from one country to another. But I think the first thing you have to tell to yourself, and being really very honest about that, okay, what did I did for the company? What are my contributions this year as an employee? And just list these contributions. Well, hopefully you would tell to yourself, yes, this is a lot of contribution because I was committed and because I worked on a lot of projects. I was really engaged in what I did and I really did a good job. Then if your conclusion is that one, do not hesitate to put forward these arguments with your manager and say, okay, I did this. It's very important to list and be factual about what you're telling. And of course, you can ask. If there is any expectations about that, and if there's any, if you can have an expectation about that. That's answer to your question, but there is no standard way of doing things, so it's very difficult to say. What about others? Do you maybe what could be really very interesting and more fun is if everyone, each of you could just in some lines say, okay, that's where I am in my career, and that is my personal challenge about my career. Okay, great. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'll start with alphabetical. Currently, I've reached to the stage that I was planning in my career because it fits within the scope of studies. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the question of Afrodita is, should the extracurricular activities be very different from the profession? I think the main thing is the first thing is about extracurricular activities to say, okay, what really interests me? Professional course and other input that helps to the profession. Okay. Okay. So the first thing about extracurricular activities, it's I think we are really successful when we have the passion, when we have the motivation to do it, and we do it. That what keeps us having the drive and continuing being successful in what we do. So I think the first thing is about to find the motivation. Where is your motivation? Do you want to do more things about your more similar or close to your job, or completely different, your job or profession, or completely different? And well, then I would, now, for me, the tips would be, if you're doing an extracurricular activities that finally has nothing to do what your profession is, then think about what are the competencies that you get from this experience that you can put in forward as a good competency for your profession. For example, well, very trivial and simple one, but if you are a team leader in a football team, then okay, you can say I have already been a leader in some situation, so you can put forward these kind of competencies. But of course, it is definitely more directly useful, the activities that are more close to your professional courses, etc. They are more appreciated, I would say, by the companies. At least it is the case in France. I think there is also a cultural difference between France and different countries, because if I'm not mistaken, in English-based countries, in US, in England, the extracurricular activities are very important to show that you have a hobby, that you have other interests, and you can be in a work-life balance. but in fact, of course, the professional courses are directly giving you competencies that will be appreciated by the companies. So, well, just do whatever you like first, and then tell to yourself, how should I put it in forward, and how can I make profit of it. And also, I think what is interesting also about it's not only about professional courses. I think for the profession, which is really very interesting, try to find not only just like trainings, etc., but also some conferences, some events linked to the profession where you meet people and you also discuss, you understand better the reality of the profession. That is really it seems that you do not learn anything directly, but you learn a lot while doing that. Okay. And Ralph, he was telling that he's an IT professional that would like to progress in technical, but as well as management side. Thank you for this. I really hope that it helps. So, Ralph, so what is your main challenge? Okay, so having a management role, what do you think, maybe if you make the link with the dimensions I mentioned, or what would be your strengths and where you would need more advice, or for example, if is there in your company an opportunity to become manager in the career path? Okay. Okay. Very good. Okay. Does anyone, Georgie, Mariam, do you have any questions, or the others, do you have any questions? Okay. Thank you, Ralph. Thank you, Aphrodita. What is the best way for making career changes? Okay. Quite a large question, Mariam. Thank you for the question. But could you please precise a bit? What do you mean by best way for making career changes? What kind of career changes do you think about? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you have a technical background, but you want to get into management. Wait, then I would say, well, if I come back to some of the points I mentioned, is first thing is really is being proactive. But proactive in what? When you have a technical background and you want to go a bit more in the management, probably the best and the easiest way to do is try to find any projects when you can do this part of the management or leadership of the project. If you think there is some missions that you can find that can get you closer basically to your goal, usually in job when we are proactive and we seek to go out of our comfort zone, then we can seize the opportunities to work on the projects that are stretching a bit our competencies, and in this case we start to gain these competencies. Very often in the companies, it's not always the case, but very often in the companies you have the position when you're actually doing the job. So if you want to go through the management, towards management, then try to identify in your company which are the missions, the projects where you can already start being manager or a leader, and to communicate with people, ask feedback. Again, I'm coming back to it's one of the dimensions. Ask feedback about what do you do well, what do you do less well, and that is the way to get. So that is one of the opportunities. Say, okay, I will do on job. I identify the missions. I tell it to everyone, to my management, to others, that I'm ready to do these missions. And I involve myself. I have the commitment to do that, and I ask feedback about what I do well and not. And the second way, it is more like theoretical. You can also try to find some training, some stuff that you can always put forward again in your discussions with your management or in your discussions with other companies. But it's true that very often you go through this change while doing actually the job you would like to do. Hope that answers in some way to your question, Mariam. Thank you very much for your feedback, Georgie. I really hope it was interesting. But, well, other questions? Okay, so I think we're coming to the end of our webinar. Do not hesitate to connect with me on LinkedIn, and if in some way, somehow, sometime you have any other question, I would be really happy to answer you. I'm thankful for your participation. It is one of my first webinars, so I really hope it was not that bad. And thank you, everyone. Have a very nice day. Bye-bye.